Maya Johnson had faced weeks of relentless harassment from Derek Mitchell at Westfield High. To the bully, she was just another quiet, new student, someone accustomed to keeping her head down and enduring whatever provocations were thrown her way by privileged boys like him. Then one afternoon in the school parking lot, Derek decided words were no longer sufficient. A sharp slap echoed across the asphalt, followed by his triumphant laughter and the approving shouts of his companions. What Derek failed to perceive beneath Maya's composed silence was the result of 8 years of intensive Muay Thai training. Her fists, honed into formidable weapons by her Marine father, were her tools for self-defense. Derek believed her to be weak. He was profoundly mistaken, and Maya Johnson was about to demonstrate precisely what transpired when predators fatally misjudged their quarry. Before we continue, please share your current location in the comments below and remember to subscribe, as tomorrow's narrative is one you absolutely will not want to miss. Maya Johnson pushed through the tall glass entrance doors of Westfield High School, her backpack casually slung over one shoulder. The vast hallways unfolded before her like an intricate labyrinth, their polished floors reflecting the brightly colored lockers that were still unfamiliar to her. Clusters of students deeply entrenched in their established social circles cast brief, indifferent glances her way, the kind of casual curiosity reserved for any new face. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" A voice, laced with an air of entitlement, made Maya turn. A tall young man with sun-bleached hair, sporting a lacrosse jersey, was casually leaning against a row of lockers, flanked by 3 other boys who shared the same effortless confidence that marked those at the apex of the school's social hierarchy. "Just finding my bearings," Maya replied, her voice remarkably steady. Derek Mitchell. He pushed himself away from the lockers and extended a hand. "Captain of the lacrosse team, I make it my personal mission to welcome new students, especially ones as unique as you." Maya's gaze flickered to his outstretched hand, but she made no move to accept it. "I'm Maya Johnson, and I'm not unique. I'm simply black." A ripple of snickers went through Derek's friends, but his smile remained unwavering. "Feisty? I like that. Where did you transfer from?" "Columbus. A big city girl, are we? Well, things operate a bit differently here in Westfield. We have more traditional values, if you catch my drift." His eyes trailed down her body in a manner that sent a shiver of revulsion crawling up her spine. "Lucky for you, I'm something of a tradition myself. Been around since kindergarten. My family practically built this place." "How fortunate for you," Maya said dryly. She shifted her weight, poised to disengage. "Hold on a moment." Derek stepped sideways, effectively blocking her path. "I'm genuinely trying to be friendly here. Show you around. Introduce you to the people who actually matter. You wouldn't want to make any enemies on your very first day." "I'm not looking to make friends either," Maya stated. One of Derek's companions, a solidly built boy marked by acne scars, let out a snort of amusement. "She's got some attitude, Derek. Maybe she needs a lesson in manners." Maya's jaw tightened. She'd encountered boys precisely like him before, in 3 different schools across 2 different states. They consistently acted as though they held dominion over any space they occupied. "Listen," Derek began, his tone dropping to what he clearly perceived as charming persuasion. "I could be incredibly good to you. Look after you, like in the old days. You know what I mean?" His friends erupted in a fresh wave of laughter. The surrounding hallway seemed to fall into a hushed silence, other students slowing their movements, drawn to the unfolding spectacle. Maya felt the familiar, oppressive weight of being the focal point of unwanted attention, the sole black individual in a sea of white faces, all anticipating her reaction to being put firmly in her place. "I know exactly what you mean," Maya declared, her voice sharp enough to cut through their amusement, "and I'm not interested." She attempted to sidestep Derek, but he mirrored her movement, his arm shooting out to brace against the lockers, effectively caging her in. "Come on now, don't be like that. I'm trying to help you out here. New girl, probably doesn't have many friends yet, could use someone to show her the ropes." Maya looked up at him, noting the strategic positioning of his friends, designed to cut off any easy avenues of escape. She had navigated similar predicaments before, but something about Derek's smile made her stomach churn. It wasn't merely predatory, it was undeniably entitled, as if he genuinely believed she should be grateful for his unsolicited attention. "Take your arm down," she said quietly. "Or what?" Derek leaned closer. "You going to rat me out to the principal? My dad's on the school board. He has been for 15 years. They're not going to believe some angry transfer student over a Mitchell." The piercing ring of the school bell reverberated through the hallway, signaling the end of the brief encounter. Students began to disperse towards their classes, but Derek and his crew remained rooted to the spot. "This conversation isn't concluded," Derek announced, finally lowering his arm. "Welcome to Westfield, Maya Johnson. I hope you enjoy your stay." As they sauntered away, Maya overheard one of them remark, "She'll be fun to break in." Maya stood there for a moment, watching them melt into the surging crowd. She had transferred schools 6 times in 4 years due to her mother's career, a nomadic existence that had taught her to swiftly assess situations. This wasn't simply typical teenage posturing, it felt significantly more insidious. She retrieved her class schedule and began walking towards her first period. Other students now gave her a wide berth, their gazes filled with curiosity, yet carefully avoiding prolonged stares. Word would undoubtedly spread like wildfire about the new girl who had dared to confront Derek Mitchell on her very first day. Maya located her classroom and discreetly slipped inside, selecting a seat in the back corner where she had a clear view of the entrance. As the teacher commenced the roll call, Maya reflected on Derek's words. Traditional values. The old days. She had encountered such coded language before. Her father had instructed her on the proper technique for throwing a punch when she was 10 years old, shortly after her initial Muay Thai lesson. "Never initiate a conflict," he had advised, "but always be prepared to bring one to a decisive end." Glancing around at her new classmates, Maya had a distinct premonition that she might need to recall that particular piece of wisdom sooner than she had anticipated. Development 1. 900 words revised. The systematic harassment commenced the following morning. Maya was in the process of retrieving books from her locker when Derek materialized beside her, leaning nonchalantly against the adjacent locker as if he were a permanent fixture. "Morning, beautiful. Sleep well. Dream of me?" Maya deliberately avoided making eye contact. "Move, please. Come on, don't be so frosty. I brought you a peace offering." He held out a banana. "Thought you might be hungry." His friends materialized behind him, their faces contorted in smirks. Maya slammed her locker shut and began to walk away, but Derek persisted, following her. "Hey, where are you going? I'm trying to be nice here." Maya continued her stride, but Derek again stepped in front of her, obstructing her path to first period. Students in the hallway began to slow their pace, sensing an impending confrontation. You know, most girls would be thrilled to receive this kind of attention. Derek Mitchell doesn't just approach anyone. "Lucky me," Maya muttered, attempting to maneuver around him once more. This time Derek allowed her to pass, but she could feel his eyes burning into her back as she moved away. From behind her, she heard him declare to his friends, "Don't worry, she'll come around, they always do." By third period, Derek had somehow acquired her class schedule. He appeared outside her chemistry classroom, awaiting her with that familiar, predatory smirk. "Maya, what a coincidence. I was just passing by." "Your next class is on the opposite side of the building," Maya stated, continuing her walk without pause. "How do you know where my next class is?" Derek fell into step beside her. "You've been asking about me? That's sweet." Maya's jaw clenched. She hadn't been asking. She had merely overheard 2 girls discussing Derek's schedule during lunch. Apparently, a significant portion of the school was intimately familiar with his daily routine. "Look, I get it," Derek continued. "You're playing hard to get. It's cute, but you should understand that I always acquire what I desire." Maya stopped walking abruptly. "What makes you believe I am something you can simply get?" Derek's smirk faltered for a fleeting instant before reasserting itself with renewed intensity. "Everything is for sale, sweetheart. You just need to find the right price." The subsequent day, Derek was waiting by her car in the parking lot after school. Maya had borrowed her mother's Honda for the day. It was nothing ostentatious, yet Derek ran his hand along its hood as if he were appraising its value. Nice ride. A little roughed up, but it's got character, much like its owner. Get away from my car. Relax, I'm not going to harm it. Just admiring. He moved to obstruct her path to the driver's door. You know, I could give you rides to school. My Mustang is considerably more impressive than this thing. I don't need rides from you. What do you need then? Money? I have plenty. My father owns 3 car dealerships. Derek stepped closer. Or perhaps you require protection. This school can be rather challenging for outsiders. Maya felt her hands instinctively clench into fists. Is that a threat? Merely stating facts. Things happen to individuals who don't conform. Accidents. Misunderstandings. Derek's voice lowered conspiratorially. But stick with me, and no one will bother you. Maya unlocked her car and settled into the driver's seat, but Derek snagged the door before she could fully close it. Think about it, he urged. I'll make it worth your while. The harassment intensified throughout the week. He follows me to my car. He touches me when I tell him not to. Mrs. Patterson set down her pen and finally met Maya's gaze. Sometimes, when we are new to a place, we can misread social cues. Boys here might be more forward than you're accustomed to. It's likely just his way of being welcoming. Maya stared at her, incredulity etching her features. Welcoming? I suggest you try to be more open-minded. Give Derek a chance. He's genuinely quite nice once you get to know him. Maya left the office with a profound sense of unease. Meanwhile, across the school, Jake Santos observed Maya pass his table in the library, her jaw set with palpable frustration. He recognized that expression. It was the same one he wore after his own fruitless attempts to report Derek's group for shoving him into lockers and taunting him with ethnic slurs. Jake had been at Westfield for 2 years, ever since his family relocated from El Paso. Derek and his clique had rendered those years utterly miserable, but Jake had learned to keep his head down, navigate the hallways via less trafficked routes, and eat lunch in secluded corners. Watching Maya, he saw someone who hadn't yet learned the art of disappearing. A part of him admired her refusal to yield. Another part of him dreaded what Derek might inflict upon someone who consistently refused to comply. That Friday, Derek cornered Maya near the gymnasium doors after the final class. You've been actively avoiding me all week. That genuinely hurts my feelings. Good. Derek's smile twisted into something cold. You think you're superior to me, to this place? Let me tell you something, Princess. You're not special. Just another what? Maya stepped closer, her voice imbued with a dangerous edge. Derek's eyes gleamed. You know what? Don't make me say it. Maya felt a primal urge, a breaking point, stir within her chest. Say it. I dare you. For a fleeting moment, Derek appeared genuinely on the verge of complying. Then, his smile returned, though it failed to reach his eyes. Soon, he said quietly. Very soon, you're going to learn your proper place. Monday morning, Derek gathered with his cronies near the trophy display case, a malevolent grin spreading across his face. Today's the day, gentlemen. Little Miss Attitude is about to learn her place. What's your plan? Inquired Tyler, the stocky one with the acne scars. Public humiliation. I'm going to make her grovel for my attention in front of everyone. Derek's eyes sparkled with malicious intent. She thinks she's too good for me. Just wait until she witnesses what happens to girls who fail to show proper deference. Dude, you're going to get in trouble, warned Connor, the tall, lanky member of the group. For what? Flirting. My dad's on the school board, remember? Besides, to an observer, it will merely appear as playful banter. Derek cracked his knuckles. Time to break in this filly. His friends exchanged uneasy glances but remained silent. They had witnessed Derek's definition of playful banter before. Derek spotted Maya at her locker and straightened his shoulders. Showtime! There's my girl, Derek announced loudly, striding forward with his customary entourage. Miss me over the weekend? I am not your girl, Maya responded without turning. Come on, don't be shy. Everyone knows we've got something special brewing." Derek moved closer, his voice carrying across the crowded hallway. "I've been telling everyone how exotic you are, how different." Maya slammed her locker shut and turned to face him directly. "Stop calling me exotic." "Why? It's a compliment. You're not like the average girls here. You possess that wild, untamed quality." Derek's friends erupted in laughter, and Maya noticed more students congregating, drawn to the spectacle, like onlookers gathering to witness the taming of a beautiful, wild animal. The hallway fell into a profound silence. Maya felt the weight of every single eye upon her, her very being reduced to an animal needing to be subdued. "You want to know what's wild and untamed?" Maya's voice was remarkably steady, though her hands trembled with suppressed rage. "Your breath. When was the last time you brushed your teeth or took a shower? You reek of a locker room that's been sealed shut all summer." Derek's smile faltered visibly. "Hey now." "And speaking of basic," Maya continued, her voice rising, "let's discuss your personality. You possess the depth of a puddle and the intelligence of a brick. The only reason any girls engage with you is because your father's wealth buys you superficial friendships and a fabricated reputation." Derek's face began to flush crimson. His friend shifted uncomfortably. "Your idea of flirting involves labeling girls as exotic creatures and speaking of bygone eras as if you were some sort of plantation owner. Newsflash, those days are long gone and they are not returning. You are merely a frightened little boy who cannot handle being told no." Maya advanced another step, her voice now resonating with righteous anger. "You believe you are intimidating, you believe you are special, you are utterly insignificant, you are a walking cliché with a trust fund and deeply ingrained daddy issues. The most compelling aspect of your existence is your car, and that's only because someone else designed it." The crowd had swelled considerably, with phones now being raised to capture the unfolding scene. Derek's face was now a deep, furious red. "And one final thing," Maya declared, her voice cutting through the unnerving silence. "I wouldn't date you if you were the last male on Earth. I have standards, and you don't even register on the scale." Derek stood frozen for a moment, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The earlier laughter had completely dissipated. Students were gazing at him with expressions ranging from utter shock to barely concealed amusement. Derek felt the searing heat of humiliation coursing through his chest like molten acid. This was not how the scenario was intended to unfold. She was supposed to break, not retaliate so effectively. His friends were staring at him, awaiting his next move. "You think you're amusing?" Derek forced a laugh that sounded more like a strangled bark. "You think this is over? You've just made the most colossal error of your life." Maya turned to walk away, but Derek's voice sliced through the air behind her. "Nobody talks to me like that. Absolutely nobody." For the remainder of the day, Derek seethed. Every whisper in the hallway felt like a personal mockery. Every sidelong glance seemed laden with judgment. By lunchtime, the video capturing Maya's verbal evisceration had disseminated throughout the school with the speed of wildfire. "She really got you good, man," Tyler remarked, attempting to diffuse the palpable tension. "Just shut up," Derek snapped. "Simply shut up." Derek barely registered his afternoon classes. His mind was consumed by the memory of Maya's words, which had lacerated him like a sharp blade. He replayed the expressions on the faces of the students afterward, the way some had actually managed a smile. By the time school concluded, Derek's humiliation had festered into pure, unadulterated rage. "We are going to rectify this situation," he informed his friends as they headed towards the parking lot. "All of us. She wants to play tough. Let's see just how tough she truly is." Maya was walking towards her car when they intercepted her. "Going somewhere?" Derek inquired menacingly. "We are not finished speaking." "Yes, we are," Maya stated, continuing her determined walk towards her vehicle. "No, we are not." Derek grabbed her arm and spun her around forcefully. "You embarrassed me in front of the entire school. Made me look like an utter fool." "You didn't require my assistance for that," Maya retorted. Derek's grip tightened ominously. "You believe you're so intelligent, so formidable. Allow me to demonstrate what transpires with girls who fail to understand their designated place." Maya glanced down at his hand clamped around her arm, then back up at his contorted face. "Let go of me, or what? Release me this instant." Derek let out a laugh, devoid of any humor. "You are going to learn some respect." His hand shot out and struck her posterior with such force that the sound reverberated across the parking lot. His friends erupted in boisterous laughter, and Derek grinned, feeling a semblance of regained control. "There we go. Much better." For a suspended moment, an eerie stillness descended. Derek was smiling. His friends were guffawing, and a few students heading to their cars had paused to observe the scene. Maya stood frozen for a beat. Then she turned around slowly, and an expression on her face made Derek's smile falter. "Big mistake," she said, her voice dangerously quiet. Derek opened his mouth to retort, but Maya's right hook connected squarely with his jaw before he could utter a sound. The sharp crack of the impact was audible from 20 feet away. Derek's eyes rolled back in his head, and he crumpled to the asphalt like a sack of sodden concrete. His friends stared in stunned disbelief for half a second before rushing forward. Tyler swung first, but Maya effortlessly ducked under his clumsy punch and drove her knee into his solar plexus. He doubled over, gasping for air. Connor lunged for her arms, attempting to restrain her. Maya spun out of his grasp and connected with an elbow to his ribs, sending him staggering backward. The third friend, Brad, smaller but quicker, managed to land a glancing blow to her shoulder before Maya's powerful roundhouse kick struck him squarely in the abdomen, dropping him to his knees. The entire confrontation lasted less than 30 seconds. Maya stood over Derek's motionless form, her chest heaving. Around the parking lot, students held their phones aloft, meticulously recording every detail. Some were cheering enthusiastically, while others appeared visibly terrified. Maya Johnson. Security guards were sprinting towards them, their radios crackling with urgency. Maya offered no resistance as they apprehended her arms, but her gaze remained fixed on Derek's inert body. "Someone call an ambulance!" one of the guards bellowed. As they led Maya away, she overheard another student exclaim, "Holy crap! Did you see that? She absolutely demolished them!" Derek began to stir, a trickle of blood emerging from his mouth. His friends were slowly rising to their feet, clutching their various injuries. The war had officially commenced. Principal Anderson's office felt like a tribunal. Maya sat in the hard plastic chair, her mother seated beside her, while Anderson shuffled through papers with the hurried air of someone desperately trying to avoid direct eye contact. 5 days suspension, Anderson announced without looking up. Maya initiated physical violence against 4 students, resulting in 1 concussion and multiple injuries. Frankly, she's fortunate the police are not involved. What about what they did to her? Maya's mother, Lisa Johnson, leaned forward, her voice laced with indignation. "That boy inappropriately touched my daughter." According to witness statements, Anderson countered, his gaze still averted, Derek was merely conversing with Maya when she became violent. Anderson finally looked up, his expression carefully calibrated to neutrality. "There is no evidence of inappropriate contact." "There is video of him slapping her behind," Lisa insisted, her voice escalating. "Multiple students recorded it." "I have reviewed the footage," Anderson stated calmly. "It clearly shows Maya striking Derek without provocation." Maya stared at him, incredulity evident in her eyes. "Without provocation? The video I was shown begins with you throwing the first punch. Whatever transpired before that is merely hearsay." Lisa stood up abruptly. "This is beyond belief. So Derek faces absolutely no consequences? Derek and his friends are considered victims of an unprovoked attack. They are receiving the necessary medical attention and counseling support." Anderson's tone suggested the meeting was definitively concluded. Maya will serve her suspension, commencing tomorrow. Upon her return, any further transgressions will lead to expulsion and potential legal repercussions. Outside the office, Maya's hands trembled with fury. They manipulated the footage, erasing everything preceding the moment I struck him. "I understand, darling." Lisa placed an arm around her daughter. "We will manage this." That evening, Maya sat at the kitchen table, her dinner untouched as her parents conversed in hushed tones near the sink. Her father, Marcus Johnson, had remained silent since Lisa recounted the events at school. Eventually, Marcus sat opposite Maya. "Tell me precisely what occurred. Every single detail." Maya described the weeks of torment, Derek's escalating actions, the futile meeting with the counselor, and finally, the confrontation in the parking lot. Marcus listened intently, his jaw clenching with each revelation. "You acted appropriately," he stated calmly once she had finished. "Marcus," Lisa cautioned from the kitchen. "No, Lisa, she did exactly as she ought to have." Marcus met Maya's gaze directly. "When someone lays hands on you in that manner, after you have instructed them to cease, you possess every right to defend yourself. Yet I am the one who received a suspension because the system shields boys like Derek. It always has." Marcus's voice carried the weight of his personal history. "But here is what they failed to comprehend. You did not merely protect yourself. You sent a clear message to every other potential aggressor in that school." Maya felt tears welling. "It makes no difference. Nothing has altered. Everything has changed. You simply haven't perceived it yet." Marcus reached across the table, taking her hand. "Your grandmother used to advise me. Sometimes one must fight the same conflict twice before people grasp your sincerity. This is not concluded, Maya. It is merely commencing." "What do you imply? You demonstrated your capacity to fight. Now you must demonstrate your unwavering commitment to the struggle." Marcus squeezed her hand. "However, you cannot achieve this in isolation. Seek out others who have suffered at the hands of this boy. Forge something more substantial than your individual efforts." Meanwhile, across the school grounds, Derek occupied the nurse's office, an ice pack pressed to his jaw. His father, Robert Mitchell, stood vigilantly beside him, a cell phone held to his ear. "Yes, I am aware the girl has been suspended," Robert was explaining. "However, 5 days is insufficient. My son could have sustained severe injuries." "What do you mean there is video evidence Derek was the victim in this situation?" Derek observed his father's actions, making calls to members of the school board, issuing threats of legal action, and leveraging years of political influence. Within an hour, the official video had been erased from the school servers, replaced by edited footage that portrayed Mia as an aggressor without provocation. "Do not concern yourself, son," Robert assured him after concluding his call. "This will all blow over, and that girl will reconsider before provoking a Mitchell again." Yet Derek was not contemplating Maya's punishment. He was reflecting on the instant her fist connected with his jaw, the precision of her movements, as if she knew precisely what she was doing. None of his companions had ever retaliated before. None of them had ever rendered him unconscious. 2 days into Maya's suspension, Jake Santos was dining alone in the library when he witnessed a scene that sent a chill down his spine. Derek and his associates were encircling a freshman girl near the water fountain, close enough for Jake to discern every word. "Come now, Amy, do not be bashful," Derek was saying, his jaw still exhibiting slight swelling. "I merely wish to converse." "I must get to class," the girl whispered. "Class can be postponed. We are engaged in a discussion here." Derek moved closer, pressing her against the wall. "Do you recall what transpired with the previous girl who spoke disrespectfully to me? She faced suspension. She might even face expulsion." Jake had witnessed this exact scenario unfold countless times over the preceding 2 years. Different individuals, the same tormentor, yet witnessing it unfold once more. So soon after Maya's suspension left him feeling nauseous. "Please, I simply wish to attend class." "You see, that is not how this operates," Derek stated. "You demonstrate some deference, perhaps a slight smile, and then we can discuss permitting you to depart." Jake stood up without deliberation. "Hey!" Derek turned, annoyed by the interruption. "What do you require, Taco Boy?" "Leave her be." Derek chuckled. "Or what? Are you going to summon your girlfriend Maya?" "Oh, wait. She is suspended for being a violent delinquent." Jake's hands were shaking, but he stood firm. "Just leave her alone." "You know what? You're correct." Derek stepped away from the freshman. "Amy may depart, but you and I require a discussion." The freshman girl fled without a backward glance. Derek's companions moved to surround Jake, who suddenly realized he had made a grave error. "You believe that because Maya sucker punched me, it renders you formidable as well?" Derek seized Jake by his shirt and slammed him against the lockers. "Allow me to clarify something for you. That girl was fortunate. It will not occur again." Jake attempted to break free, but Derek's grip intensified. "And if I discover you are blabbering to anyone about what just transpired, you will wish you had remained in whatever border town you emerged from." That afternoon, Jake walked home with a fractured lip and a bruised eye. Derek's threats echoed in his mind. However, he also returned home with something else, a phone number he had discreetly copied from the substitute teacher's desk. Maya answered on the second ring. "Maya, this is Jake Santos. We are not intimately acquainted, but we need to speak. What has happened to your voice? You sound as if you have been weeping." Jake touched his swollen lip. "Derek is responsible. Listen, I'm aware you are suspended, but when you return, we must meet. There are others. Students who have been enduring Derek and his associates for years. How many others?" Jake contemplated all the students he had witnessed being cornered in corridors, humiliated in restrooms, threatened into silence. "More than you realize, and subsequent to what you did to him." After witnessing someone finally retaliate, Jake's voice gained strength. People are prepared to listen. Maya was silent for a considerable duration, recalling her father's pronouncements about constructing something more significant. "Where do you suggest we convene? Behind the gymnasium? On your first day back? We will determine the subsequent steps." After disconnecting, Jake gazed at his reflection in his bedroom mirror. For the first time in 2 years, he did not avert his eyes from the contusions. Instead, he commenced compiling a roster of names. Every student he had observed Derek's group targeting, every individual who had been too apprehensive to voice their concerns. The conflict was about to escalate. Maya's initial day back at Westfield felt akin to entering hostile territory. Students stared as she passed, some with admiration, others with apprehension. Word had circulated regarding her suspension, but so too had murmurs about Derek's continued misconduct during her absence. Behind the gym, Jake Santos waited with 3 other students Maya did not recognize. His fractured lip had healed, but the discoloration of his eye was still fading to a yellowish hue at the edges. "You appeared?" Jake inquired, relief evident in his tone. "You mentioned there were others." Maya surveyed the small contingent. "Are these them?" A slender girl with short brown hair stepped forward. "I am Emma Rodriguez. Derek and his associates cornered me in the restroom last month, hurled insults, and threatened to submerge my head in the toilet if I divulged anything." Marcus Washington, stated a tall, dark-skinned sophomore. "They have been extorting my lunch money since my freshman year. Yesterday they propelled me into the trophy display and asserted to everyone that I was attempting to pilfer something. The third individual, a pale boy with thick spectacles, barely uttered his introduction. Ben Chen. They compel me to complete their assignments." Maya felt her father's words resonating within her. "Construct something more significant than your individual existence." "How many others?" she inquired. Jake produced a folded piece of paper. "I've been compiling a list. Students who have been victimized. Students who have been threatened. Students who merely keep their heads down due to fear." He presented her with the paper. "There are at least 20 names here, and that is merely those I am aware of." Maya unfolded the list and scanned the names. Some she recognized from classes. Others were complete strangers. "They cannot suspend all of us." "That is precisely my thought," Jake remarked. "However, we require a strategy. We cannot simply commence launching punches indiscriminately." Emma interjected, her voice now imbued with greater resolve. "What if we refrain from initiating the confrontation? What if we simply cease retreating any longer?" "What do you mean?" Ben inquired. "I mean, when they corner you, you stand your ground. When they attempt to intimidate you, you do not falter. When they lay hands on you," Emma looked at Maya, "you defend yourself." Maya nodded slowly. "My father imparted some lessons to me, basic self-defense. I could instruct you." "You would do that?" Marcus asked. "Derek is not going to cease. The school is not going to assist us. Therefore, we assist ourselves. Maya folded the list and placed it in her pocket. However, everyone must understand. Once we embark on this, there is no turning back. They will retaliate with greater ferocity. They are already retaliating, Jake stated. At least in this manner, we strike back. Maya surveyed each of them in turn. Very well. We will convene here daily after school. I will impart what I know, but remember, we are not instigating altercations. We are concluding them. Over the subsequent 3 days, their group expanded. Word spread discreetly through the school's covert network of victims and outcasts. Students who had endured silently began to find their way to the meetings behind the gymnasium. Maya taught them rudimentary defensive maneuvers, techniques for breaking free from grips, and vital points for inflicting maximum damage. She demonstrated to Emma how to utilize her agility to evade pursuit. She instructed Marcus on leveraging his physical stature. She aided Ben in overcoming his apprehension of physical contact. The most crucial aspect Maya impressed upon them on Thursday is to eschew fair play. They do not compete honorably, so neither shall we. Aim for the eyes, the throat, the knees, whatever is necessary to escape unharmed. Jake observed her execute a knee strike and realized Maya was evolving into something more than just another victim who had fought back. She was becoming their leader. Meanwhile, Derek had taken notice of the whispers. Students who once dispersed upon sighting him were now making eye contact. Individuals who had been facile targets were walking with a different bearing, standing taller. Something is amiss, he remarked to Tyler as they stood by their lockers on Friday afternoon. These nobodies are behaving strangely. In what manner strangely? As if they are no longer apprehensive. That freshman girl, Emma. She did not even flinch when I passed her yesterday. Tyler shrugged. Perhaps they are merely acclimating to your return. However, Derek intuited it was more profound than that. He had cultivated his reputation on fear, and fear is a precarious commodity. Once individuals ceased to be afraid, everything shifted. We must convey a message, Derek declared. Remind everyone what transpires when proper respect is not shown. What sort of message? Derek's gaze swept the hallway until it settled on Jake Santos, who was proceeding toward the exit with a sense of purpose rather than his customary timid gait. The sort that leaves an indelible mark. As the weekend approached, both factions prepared for what everyone sensed was imminent. Maya's contingent had swelled to 15 students, all diligently acquiring combat skills, all of them prepared to defend themselves and each other. Derek's faction had also grown, enlisting older students and even some former students who still frequented the school premises. The lines of engagement were being drawn. Maya spent the weekend practicing combinations in her backyard, her father observing from the porch. "Are you certain about this course of action?" Marcus inquired during a respite. Maya wiped perspiration from her forehead and glanced back at the house, where her mother was pacing by the kitchen window, consumed by worry about what lay ahead. "No," Maya admitted candidly, "but it's the only path that leads to anything positive. Monday morning could not arrive quickly enough. Monday morning presented the inaugural genuine trial. Jake was en route to his locker when Derek and Tyler cornered him near the stairwell, the very location where they had ambushed him numerous times previously. However, this time, Jake did not avert his gaze. "Well, well," Derek stated, stepping closer. "Look who fancies himself tough now." "I am not seeking trouble," Jake asserted. But he did not retreat. "Unfortunately, trouble has found you." Derek shoved Jake forcefully against the concrete wall. "I am informed you have been conversing with individuals, compiling lists. Is that accurate?" Jake felt his heart pounding, but Maya's voice resonated in his mind. "Do not fight honorably. Employ whatever means are necessary to escape safely. I am unaware of your assertions." Derek seized Jake's shirt and yanked him forward, then slammed him back against the wall. "Do not deceive me, Taco Boy. You and that deranged girl have been recruiting misfits for your little club. Release me, or what?" Derek guffawed. "Are you going to summon your Jake's knee propelled upward into Derek's groin with all his might?" Derek doubled over, gasping for air, and Jake broke free, sprinting towards the main hallway where educators would be present. "Get him!" Derek wheezed. but Jake had already vanished. 20 minutes later, during the first period, Emma Rodriguez was exiting the restroom when 3 senior girls obstructed her path. Maya had cautioned them that Derek might enlist others. However, Emma had not anticipated this. "You are Emma, correct?" The lead girl, a blonde cheerleader named Brittany, smiled icily. "I am acquainted with Derek." "All right," Emma responded, attempting to step around them. "Not so fast." Brittany moved to block her again. "Derek informed me you have been disseminating falsehoods about him. That is hardly courteous. I have not uttered anything that is not truthful. You see, that is the quandary. Truth is subjective." Brittany moved closer. "And Derek's family has been benevolent to this institution." "Your family? No one even recognizes your existence." Emma felt the familiar dread creeping into her throat, but then she recalled Maya's admonitions about maintaining her resolve. "Move," Emma stated firmly. "Excuse me. I said move. I must proceed to class." Brittany's smile vanished. You diminutive Emma did not permit her to conclude. She pushed past Brittany with sufficient force to send the cheerleader stumbling backward into the basin. "You will regret this," Brittany called out as Emma departed. By lunchtime, news had disseminated concerning both incidents. Maya sat with her burgeoning group in a secluded area of the cafeteria, observing Derek's table across the room. "They are recruiting," Marcus remarked discreetly. "I observed Derek conversing with some of the football players during physical education." "How many?" Maya inquired. "Perhaps 6 or 7. Large individuals?" Ben appeared terrified. "What if they target us all simultaneously?" "Then we remain united," Maya declared. "No one ventures alone. Buddy system implemented universally." Across the cafeteria, Derek was indeed assembling his own contingent. His jaw still throbbed from Jake's knee strike, and the humiliation stung more acutely than the physical discomfort. "I desire them isolated," Derek instructed the football players he had recruited. "Pick them off individually. Demonstrate to the remainder of the school what befalls when you antagonize us." "What about the girl?" inquired Chad, a senior linebacker, the catalyst for all this. Derek's eyes found Maya across the room. She was seated with her back to the wall, positioned to observe the entire cafeteria. Astute. Save her for last. Allow her to witness her small army disintegrate first. After school, Maya's contingent had barely commenced their training session behind the gymnasium when Principal Anderson appeared with 2 security officers. "This assembly is unsanctioned," Anderson announced. "You are all to disperse immediately." "We are not engaged in any illicit activity," Mia stated. "We are merely conversing. Reports indicate you have been instructing students in combat techniques. That constitutes planning violence on school grounds." Mia felt anger surging within her. "What about Derek enlisting football players to assault us? Where is his penalty?" "I am unaware of your allegations. Derek Mitchell has not been involved in any incident since your unprovoked assault upon him." "This is preposterous," Emma exclaimed. Anderson redirected his attention to her. "Miss Rodriguez, your parents received a telephone call today concerning your altercation with another student in the restroom. One more infraction, and you will face suspension." "She did not instigate it," Jake protested. "Mr. Santos, you are already on precarious ground following your altercation this morning. I advise you to remain silent." As Anderson and the guards departed, Mia's group stood in stunned quietude. "They are shielding him," Ben whispered. "No matter what he perpetrates, they will defend him." Maya clenched her fists. "Then we shall protect ourselves." "How?" Marcus inquired. "They will suspend us for merely breathing improperly, yet Derek can conduct himself as he pleases." Maya observed her companions, for that is what they had become, united by shared trauma and resolve. Her father's words resurfaced. Sometimes one must confront the same battle anew before individuals comprehend your seriousness. "We will render it impossible to disregard," she stated softly. "We will magnify it to such an extent, make it so public, that they can no longer conceal it." "What are you contemplating?" Jake inquired. Mia's smile was as sharp as a blade. "War." On Tuesday after school, Maya stood before 23 students gathered in the disused maintenance shed behind the football field. Word had spread through clandestine channels. The outcasts, the bullied, the forgotten. They had discovered a new meeting venue after being prohibited from school property. "I am aware you all harbor apprehension," Maya began, her voice echoing through the confined space. "I understand, because I too was apprehensive. Fearful of Derek, fearful of his associates, fearful of a system that safeguards predators and penalizes victims." The group listened in silence. Some occupied overturned crates, others leaned against corroded equipment. All of them bore the unseen scars of Derek's reign of terror. But yesterday, a transformation occurred. Jake fought back. Emma fought back. They stood against tormentors who presumed dominion over this school. Maya's voice gained strength. "And do you know what transpired? The tormentors sustained injuries. The tormentors were unnerved. For the first time in years, they experienced what we have been enduring every single day." "What if they expel us?" Ben inquired, his voice barely audible. "What if they do not?" Maya retorted. "What if we continue to endure their abuse until graduation? What becomes of the students who follow us? Do we simply abandon them to suffer as we did?" Silence permeated the shed. Maya could perceive the internal conflict etched on every face, the war between dread and hope, between self-preservation and justice. "My father imparted some wisdom to me," Maya continued. "He said sometimes you must fight the same battle twice before people understand you're serious." Well, I am finished fighting in solitude. We all are. A junior named Terrell, who had been reticent until this moment, spoke up. "My younger sister commences here next year. She is diminutive, barely 5 feet tall. If Derek is still present when she arrives, his hands clenched into fists. I cannot permit that to occur." "Then do not," Maya stated plainly. "Assist us in preventing it." "How?" Emma inquired. "They possess the administration. They possess their parents' wealth. They possess everything." "They lack numbers," Jake declared, rising to his feet. "There are more of us than there are of them. There always have been." Maya nodded. "The sole reason Derek wields power is because we have granted it to him, because we scattered when he appeared, because we endured in silence, because we permitted him to single us out one by one." She walked to the center of the group. "No longer. From this point forward, when Derek or his associates approach any of us, we will not flee. We will not conceal ourselves. We will stand united and retaliate." "What if someone sustains severe injury?" a sophomore girl queried. Maya's expression hardened. "Individuals are already being harmed daily. The distinction is that now Derek will also experience pain." Across town, Derek occupied his bedroom, tending to a bag of ice applied to his groin, while his father paced agitatedly. "This is escalating beyond control," Robert Mitchell stated. "First, that Johnson girl attacked you. Now other students are becoming aggressive. The school must implement stricter measures." "It is acceptable, Father. I can manage a few miscreants. This is not about your capacity to manage. This is about respect, about maintaining order." Robert ceased pacing and regarded his son. "Perhaps it is time to involve the authorities, to file assault charges against some of these youths." Derek mulled it over. The prospect of witnessing Maya's apprehension held a certain grim satisfaction, yet it also felt like an admission of inadequacy, a surrender of his own capacity to manage his personal conflicts. "Not yet," Derek declared. "Give me a few more days." Meanwhile, back at the workshop, Maya concluded her address. "To be candid, this situation is poised to deteriorate before it improves. They will attempt to shatter our resolve and reintroduce fear. Some of you may face suspension or expulsion. Some of you might sustain injuries." A ripple of unease passed through the assembled group, but no one departed. "However," Maya continued, her voice resonating with conviction, "I am certain of this. We are already wounded. We are already fractured. We are already fearful. The only distinction now is that we intend to inflict that same feeling upon them." She surveyed the room, making eye contact with each individual present. "Anyone who wishes to depart is welcome to do so immediately. There will be no judgment, no ill will. But if you choose to remain, you are committed. We will safeguard one another. We will champion one another. And we will not cease until Derek and his associates are vanquished. Ben Chen slowly rose, his hands trembling slightly, but his voice unwavering. I'm weary of living in fear. One by one, others joined him. Emma, Marcus, Terrell, Jake. By the time all 23 students were standing, Mia spoke up, then let's make them the ones who are afraid instead. As the group dispersed into the encroaching twilight, Maya felt the weight of leadership descend upon her. These were no longer mere fellow victims. They had become combatants in a conflict she had initiated, and conflicts, she was beginning to grasp, inevitably incurred losses. The paramount concern was whether she could bear the consequences that lay ahead. Wednesday morning devolved into pandemonium. Derek's recruited athletes initiated the aggression, cornering Ben Chen in the restroom just prior to the commencement of first period. This time, however, Ben was not isolated. Marcus and 2 other students breached the door at the precise moment the assault commenced. "Release him!" Marcus bellowed, launching himself at the nearest football player. The restroom transformed into a battleground. Fists exchanged blows, bodies collided against the tiled walls, and the cacophony of conflict reverberated through the corridors. Additional students congregated outside, some documenting the event with their devices, others hurrying to summon faculty. By the time security personnel arrived, 3 football players were incapacitated on the floor, and Ben stood, bloodied but triumphant, supported by his companions. "What transpired here?" demanded Mr. Walsh, the head of security. "They ambushed us," Marcus stammered, dabbing at his bleeding nose. "That is not my observation," stated Chad, the linebacker, struggling to regain his footing. "These individuals initiated an unprovoked assault upon us." Within the span of an hour, 5 members of Maya's cohort were suspended. Nevertheless, news of their triumph spread with astonishing rapidity. For the inaugural instance, Derek's faction had experienced a defeat. During the midday meal, Derek's table was notably subdued. His remaining allies cast anxious glances around, as if anticipating a subsequent confrontation. "This is escalating beyond our control," Tyler murmured, idly picking at his sandwich. "Perhaps we should disengage for a period." "Disengage?" Derek's voice was cutting. "You propose allowing these underlings the perception that they can triumph over us." "I'm merely suggesting. Perhaps." "Perhaps what?" Derek interjected, his voice laced with disbelief. "Perhaps we should permit Maya Johnson to incite the entire student body against us." Derek abruptly stood, his chair scraping harshly against the floor. "Absolutely not. This evening, we conclude this matter." Concurrently, Maya convened with her diminished contingent in the library, attempting to process the recent events. 5 suspensions, Emma stated softly. Ben, Marcus, Terrell, and 2 others are absent. "But they achieved victory," Jake pointed out. Derek's football players were utterly routed. "And now they will retaliate with intensified ferocity." Maya expressed her culpability for every contusion, every suspension, every escalation. "This is my fault." "No," a new voice asserted. Maya turned to observe Sarah Kim, a reserved junior she barely knew. "This is Derek's culpability. It has perpetually been Derek's responsibility." Sarah occupied a seat at their table without invitation. "I have been observing this conflict from the periphery, and I can no longer remain silent." Her voice gained strength. "Derek and his associates cornered my friend Jasmine last month. They reduced her to tears. They compelled her to abstain from school for an entire week. I should have intervened then." "Why did you not?" Emma inquired, her tone genuinely curious rather than accusatory. "The same reason everyone else abstains. Fear." Sarah's voice grew more assertive. "But witnessing you all retaliate, witnessing Ben confront those football players, I've realized that I'm more apprehensive of perpetual silence than of engagement." A spark of optimism ignited within Maya. "How many others share your sentiment?" "More than you might imagine. Considerably more." That afternoon, Derek assembled his remaining forces in the parking lot. News of Sarah Kim's defection had reached him, and he was incensed. "They are recruiting at a pace that outstrips our capacity to contain them," he informed his gathered cohort. "It is time for a revised strategy." "What form will this strategy take?" inquired Connor. Derek's smile was glacial and calculating. "The kind that necessitates Maya Johnson's hospitalization." Simultaneously, at the maintenance shed, Mia's group had swelled to over 30 students. The triumph in the restroom had emboldened additional individuals to join, but Mia perceived the apprehension in their eyes. They desired to combat, but they were unprepared for Derek's potential next move. "We must exhibit greater astuteness," Mia advised them. "No more minor engagements. If we are to undertake this, we must do so decisively." "What precisely do you propose?" Sarah inquired. Maya observed the faces gazing back at her. Some eager, some terrified, all entrusting her to guide them safely through this ordeal. "Derek will likely attempt a significant maneuver tomorrow morning. I sense it. Therefore, we will be prepared for him." Maya's voice carried the authority of command. "All of us, together, in the main hallway where every student can witness. Do you wish for us to engage in combat before the entire student body?" Ben's replacement, a sophomore named Alex, appeared visibly perturbed. "I desire for us to achieve victory in the presence of the entire student body," Maya corrected. "I want every student, every instructor, every administrator to perceive that Derek Mitchell no longer dictates the environment at Westfield High." Jake stepped forward. "What if they bring weaponry?" Maya's expression darkened. "Then we must ensure we are prepared for any eventuality." As the meeting concluded, Maya felt the familiar burden of responsibility pressing down upon her. Tomorrow would either herald the cessation of Derek's reign of intimidation or result in the destruction of all she had striven to build. Regardless of the outcome, there would be no retreat. Later that evening, Derek initiated a phone call that would irrevocably alter the course of events. "Father, I require a favor. It pertains to that Johnson girl and her associates. The situation has become rather intricate." The conflict was on the precipice of escalating far beyond a mere schoolyard dispute, and Maya remained utterly oblivious to the approaching storm. Thursday morning dawned with the ferocity of a tempest. Maya arrived at school well before the majority of students, positioning herself and her core group in the central corridor. Their agreed-upon strategy was straightforward: remain cohesive, initiate no aggression, yet be prepared for any eventuality. By the commencement of first period, the atmosphere was fraught with palpable tension. Students navigated the hallways in discernible factions, aligning themselves by their physical movements. Maya's contingent had expanded overnight to nearly 40 individuals. Conversely, Derek's alliance had recruited former students and older individuals who had no legitimate reason to be present on campus. At precisely 9:30 in the morning, during the transition between first and second classes, a comprehensive eruption occurred. The initial incident involved Derek's football recruits cornering 3 freshmen who had been seated with Maya's group at lunch. What might have been another isolated altercation swiftly ignited the situation. "Release them!" Sarah Kim's cry pierced the air from across the hallway. Instantly, all movement converged. Maya's adherents rushed to the aid of the freshmen, while Derek's associates moved to intercept them. Within seconds, the main hallway descended into utter pandemonium. Bodies slammed against lockers, textbooks were hurled through the air, and the din of conflict echoed off the walls. Students not directly involved pressed themselves against classroom doors, some shrieking, others brandishing their mobile devices to record. Maya found herself engaged with 2 seniors simultaneously, expertly utilizing the confined space of the hallway to her advantage. She propelled one into the trophy case, causing glass to shatter across the floor, then pivoted to deliver an elbow strike to the jaw of the second. Across the corridor, Jake grappled with Tyler, while Emma and 3 other girls had Brittany pinned against the wall. The cheerleader scratched and bit like a feral creature, spewing profanities that would have led to her expulsion had any authority figures been attentive. "This is madness," Ben bellowed above the din, evading a flying textbook. Additional students emerged from classrooms, some to join the fray, others merely to observe. The riot began to spread beyond the initial combatants as bystanders were drawn into the violence. Derek materialized through the throng, his countenance contorted with fury. Maya. This concludes now. However, before he could reach her, a fire alarm commenced its strident blare. The alarm had been activated amidst the chaos, and sprinklers began to deploy throughout the edifice. Water cascaded down upon the combatant students, rendering the floors slick and perilous. Several individuals lost their footing, collapsing onto the wet tile, yet the hostilities persisted. "Everyone, cease!" A teacher's voice attempted to cut through the noise, but it was entirely disregarded. Maya slipped on the wet flooring and fell, immediately rolling to evade a kick from one of Derek's recruits. She swept his legs out from under him, sending him crashing into a cluster of lockers. The riot had acquired a momentum of its own. Students who had been entirely uninvolved in the initial dispute were now exchanging blows, settling old grievances, or simply caught in the maelstrom of violence. The carefully delineated battle lines that Maya and Derek had established had dissolved into sheer anarchy. Amidst the downpour of sprinkler water and the cacophony of screams, Mia glimpsed Principal Anderson standing at the far end of the hallway, a phone pressed to his ear. His face was ashen as he spoke rapidly to his interlocutor. "We require immediate assistance," she overheard him say. "Multiple confrontations, property destruction, a complete loss of control." Maya comprehended that this was precisely what Derek's father had orchestrated, a pretext to deploy external forces to permanently suppress her movement. A window shattered as an individual was forcefully propelled against it. Glass joined the water on the floor, exacerbating the precariousness of footing. Several students were bleeding now, though whether from impacts or lacerations from the debris, Mia could not ascertain. "Maya." Jake appeared beside her, his shirt torn and his lips split. "We must evacuate this location." "No," Maya retorted above the din. "We cannot retreat now." Yet, even as she spoke, Maya perceived that they were relinquishing command. This was not the disciplined resistance she had envisioned. It was a chaotic brawl that was becoming increasingly dangerous with every passing minute. Derek emerged from the milling crowd once more, water streaming down his face, his eyes alight with a mixture of rage and panic. "Behold what you have wrought," he bellowed at Maya. "You have obliterated everything." "I have exposed everything," Maya retorted, her voice barely audible amidst the surrounding tumult. The riot continued to spread. More windows fractured, lockers were wrenched open, and the sprinkler system was inundating the entirety of the first floor. The sound of sirens became discernible in the distance, growing steadily louder. Maya surveyed the pandemonium she had helped to instigate. Students fighting, bleeding, screaming, water everywhere. The crunch of glass underfoot. This was not justice. This was not victory. This was precisely the justification Derek's father required for whatever he had meticulously planned. However, it was irrevocably too late to halt the progression. The conflict had escalated beyond the control of any individual, and the true engagement was imminent. The sirens were drawing nearer. The riot began to subside as exhaustion set in, but Maya and Derek found themselves standing alone in the center of the flooded hallway. Other students had either fled or collapsed against the walls, observing through the cascading sprinkler water as the two antagonists confronted each other. "You and I," Derek panted, wiping blood from his mouth. "No allies, no support, merely us." Maya circled him slowly, her sneakers sloshing in the ankle-deep water. "Agreed." They had been building towards this moment for weeks. All the harassment, the humiliation, the violence had culminated in this final confrontation. The shattered glass and overturned lockers formed an arena of devastation. Derek delivered the initial blow, a wild swing that Maya easily evaded. His boxing training had not prepared him for fighting in water while utterly depleted from a riot. Maya countered with a sharp jab to his ribs, followed by a knee strike that connected with his abdomen. Derek doubled over, gasping for air. "Had enough?" Maya inquired. "Merely getting started?" Derek wheezed, then lunged forward, tackling Maya around the waist. They crashed heavily into the flooded hallway. Derek's weight pressed Maya beneath the water. She struggled against his grip, a wave of panic washing over her as water filled her nose and mouth. Maya drove her elbow into Derek's kidney, forcing him to release his hold. She rolled away and emerged sputtering, water cascading from her hair. "You consider yourself so formidable?" Derek was back on his feet, his expression contorted with fury. "You believe you can simply arrive at my school and instigate change? This is not your institution," Maya retorted. "It is not your dominion. You are merely another tormentor who is about to receive their just deserts." Derek charged again, but this time Maya was prepared. She sidestepped, utilizing his momentum against him, sending him crashing into the lockers. The impact reverberated through the hallway. Meanwhile, outside the school, police vehicles encircled the building. Officers clad in riot gear prepared to enter, but they were not the sole arrivals. News vans converged as reporters caught wind of the massive altercation at Westfield High. Parents were speeding towards the school after receiving emergency notifications, and among them, Robert Mitchell sat in his Mercedes, a look of satisfaction on his face as he spoke into his phone. "Yes, it is precisely as we discussed," he informed the voice on the other end. "Gang violence, property damage, a complete breakdown of order. Maya Johnson has transformed a peaceful academy into a theater of war." However, Robert was not the only parent making inquiries. Lisa Johnson was racing towards the school, her hands trembling as she dialed her husband's number. "Marcus, something has occurred at Maya's school. There has been a significant confrontation. The police are present. I am en route." Marcus's voice responded through the speaker. Back inside, Maya and Derek continued their brutal engagement. Derek had landed several effective strikes, and Maya's left eye was visibly swelling shut, but Derek was not faring any better. His nose was clearly fractured, and he was favoring his right side, where Maya had repeatedly targeted his ribs. "You have annihilated everything," Derek screamed, launching another wild punch. "This school was idyllic before your arrival." Maya blocked the punch and drove her fist into Derek's solar plexus. "Idyllic for whom?" "Idyllic for you and your cronies, while everyone else endured suffering." Derek staggered backward, his breathing labored. "My family established this place. We shaped it into what it is." "You rendered it a nightmare," Maya stated, advancing on him. "For individuals like Jake, like Emma, like Ben, you made their existence agonizing because you possessed the capacity, because they merited it." Derek's voice cracked with desperation. "Because that is the immutable order of the world. Some individuals hold significance and others do not." Maya's subsequent punch connected squarely with Derek's jaw, the precise location where she had initially struck him weeks prior. This time, Derek remained prone, blood pooling beneath his face in the water. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the school entrance. The police had arrived. "Everyone on the ground! Hands behind your heads!" The commands boomed through the hallways as officers in riot gear flooded the building. Maya looked down at Derek's unconscious form, then at the devastation surrounding her. Shattered glass, flooded floors, scattered personal effects. Students pressed against the walls with fear etched onto their faces. She had triumphed in the confrontation, but at what cost? "Maya Johnson," an officer's voice cut through the pandemonium. "Step away from the victim and get on the ground immediately." As Maya slowly raised her hands, she observed something that caused her heart to sink. Derek's father was walking behind the police officers, pointing directly at her. "That's her," Robert Mitchell stated to the lead officer. "That's the gang leader who orchestrated all this violence." Maya comprehended that she had inadvertently fallen into their meticulously laid trap. The riot, the destruction, Derek rendered unconscious on the ground. All of it painted her as the aggressor, the violent delinquent who had terrorized an otherwise peaceful institution. However, as the handcuffs clicked shut around her wrists, Maya overheard something that instilled a glimmer of hope. Student voices, dozens of them, all articulating the same sentiment. She was defending herself. Derek initiated it. He had been tormenting individuals for years. The truth was finally surfacing. Even as Maya was being apprehended, the crucial question remained whether any authority figure would lend an ear. The handcuffs dug into Maya's wrists as officers escorted her through the waterlogged hallway of Westfield High. Around her, the aftermath of the riot was starkly evident. Broken glass crunched underfoot. Water dripped from damaged ceiling tiles, and students pressed against classroom doors observed her perp walk with expressions ranging from shock to unadulterated admiration. "Maya, Maya, do not utter a word." The voice cut through the prevailing chaos. Her father, Marcus Johnson, was pushing through the cordon of police officers and paramedics. "Do not respond to any inquiries without legal counsel." "Sir, step back," an officer commanded. But Marcus continued his determined advance. "That is my daughter. I have a right to speak with my daughter." Maya turned her head, water still dripping from her hair, her left eye swollen to the point of near closure. "Dad, baby girl, look at me." Marcus's voice remained steady despite the surrounding turmoil. "You did what was necessary. Do you understand? You protected yourself and your friends." "She assaulted multiple students," Detective Reynolds interjected, consulting his notes. "This appears to be gang-related activity." "Gang activity?" Marcus's voice escalated dangerously. "My daughter defending herself from harassment constitutes gang activity." Behind them, Derek was being loaded onto a stretcher, still unconscious. Robert Mitchell walked alongside the paramedics, his expensive suit somehow remaining pristine amidst the chaos. "Officer," Robert called out, "I wish to press full charges. Assault, battery, inciting a riot. That girl is a menace." Marcus turned towards Robert, his fists clenched. "Your son laid hands on my daughter. He has been harassing her for weeks." "That is not what the witnesses are reporting," Robert responded smoothly. "All I observe is your daughter standing over my unconscious son." "Dad, it's all right," Maya said quietly. "I am fine." Marcus looked at his daughter, soaked, bruised, handcuffed, yet standing tall. In her eyes, he saw the same unwavering resolve he had instilled in her during their backyard training sessions. "Do you recall what I instructed you about fighting the same battle twice?" Marcus inquired as the officers prepared to lead her away. "Yes, this is the second engagement, and this time the entire world is observing." As they proceeded through the school, Maya noted the reactions of her fellow students. Some of Derek's associates appeared satisfied, whispering amongst themselves about her apprehension. But others, her allies, watched with tears in their eyes and cell phones in their hands, meticulously recording every detail. Jake Santos broke free from a group of students and ran alongside her. "Maya, we have video footage of everything, the entire altercation. Derek delivering the initial blow, all of it." "Kid, step back," an officer warned. "No, you do not comprehend," Jake persisted. "We possess proof that she was acting in self-defense." "Jake, exercise caution," Mia called over her shoulder. "Do not get apprehended as well." Emma Rodriguez was weeping as Maya passed, her phone held high to capture the scene. "We will rectify this. Everyone will know the truth." Outside the school, news vans were already arriving. The report of a substantial brawl at a suburban high school was disseminating rapidly, particularly with cell phone footage appearing on social media in real time. Maya's mother, Lisa, pushed through the throng of reporters and onlookers. "Maya, baby, are you injured?" "I'm fine, Mom," Maya called back, although her swollen eye conveyed a different narrative. "This is harassment," Lisa declared to the officers. "Where were you when her son was assaulting my daughter?" Detective Reynolds paused by the police cruiser. "Ma'am, your daughter instigated a disturbance that resulted in injuries to numerous students and caused tens of thousands of dollars in damages." "My daughter was protecting herself from a predator." Lisa's voice faltered with emotion. "She did what you should have done. She stopped him." As they approached the patrol car, Maya observed Principal Anderson near the school entrance, speaking animatedly into his phone. He met her gaze for a fleeting moment, and Maya perceived an unexpected sentiment: shame. "Maya Johnson," Detective Reynolds read from his notes as he opened the car door. "You are being charged with assault and battery, inciting a riot, and conspiracy to commit violence. You have the right to remain silent." Maya barely registered the Miranda warnings, her attention fixed on her friends through the car window. Jake was orchestrating students to upload their recordings. Emma was coordinating with arriving parents. Ben Chen, though limping, stood resolutely with the group. They were not yielding. Even with their leader apprehended, they persisted in their struggle. As the patrol car departed from Westfield High, Maya witnessed something that filled her with profound pride. Students were emerging from the building, not in panic, but in an organized demonstration. They formed a line along the sidewalk, holding their phones aloft and chanting her name. The conflict was not concluded. It was merely commencing. Marcus Johnson watched his daughter disappear into the police vehicle, then turned to face the growing throng of news cameras. "My daughter is not a criminal," he stated clearly, his voice resonating across the parking lot. "She is a hero who confronted a system that shields aggressors and punishes those who are victimized, and we will demonstrate this." The battle lines were drawn, and the entire world was observing. The courthouse steps were thronged with demonstrators. 3 weeks later, Maya occupied the defendant's bench, observing through the partition as hundreds of students held signs proclaiming "Justice for Maya" and "Stop protecting bullies." The media fervor had escalated beyond her wildest imaginings. "Your Honor," District Attorney Rebecca Walsh addressed Judge Martinez, her voice imbued with authority. "Maya Johnson orchestrated and led a criminal conspiracy that culminated in a riot, causing over $50,000 in property damage. She transformed Westfield High School into a combat zone." Maya's legal counsel, a young public defender named David Chen, Ben's elder brother, who had undertaken the case pro bono, rose to respond. "Your Honor, Maya Johnson is not a criminal. She is a victim compelled to defend herself when every adult authority figure failed her." Judge Martinez, a stern woman in her 60s, peered over her spectacles at the crowded chamber. "This is highly unusual. I have never encountered such a degree of public interest in a juvenile case." The prosecution commenced its presentation with Principal Anderson, who took the witness stand appearing ill at ease in his seldom worn suit. "Principal Anderson," D.A. Walsh began, "can you describe the defendant's conduct since her transfer to Westfield High?" Maya Johnson was disruptive from her first day. She showed no deference to authority and seemed intent on creating disruptions. David Chen stood for cross-examination. "Principal Anderson, how many formal complaints did you receive regarding Derek Mitchell's interactions with other students?" Anderson shifted uncomfortably. "I don't recall the precise figures." "Allow me to refresh your memory." David produced a substantial folder. 17 formal complaints over 2 years. What actions did you take?" "The Mitchell family has been highly supportive of our school. Sometimes complaints are exaggerated by students seeking attention." A murmur of displeasure swept through the courtroom. Maya observed several of Derek's previous victims lean forward in their seats. "So, you credited Derek Mitchell's word over those of multiple victims because his family contributed financially to the school?" "Objection," the prosecutor interjected. "Sustained," Judge Martinez stated, though her expression suggested she had heard sufficient. The true bombshell arrived when David Chen called Jake Santos to the stand. "Jake, 3 days ago, you discovered something on Derek Mitchell's social media profiles. Could you inform the court of your findings?" Jake's hands trembled slightly as he spoke. "I found videos and posts that Derek believed he had erased. They depicted him planning assaults on students, boasting about harassment, and coordinating with his father to conceal everything." On the courtroom's display screen, a video began to play. It showed Derek and his associates in Derek's bedroom, strategizing their final confrontation with Maya's group. "We'll make it appear as though she initiated everything," Derek's voice echoed through the hushed courtroom. "My father has already spoken with the police. They will arrest her and her crew, and everything will return to normal." Gasps rippled through the assembly. Robert Mitchell's face turned ashen in the front row, but the evidence was not yet exhausted. Jake had recovered months of deleted content. Derek bragging about ambushing exotic girls, footage of him and his friends cornering students, even audio recordings of conversations with his father about leveraging police connections to resolve issues. Furthermore, David continued, we have testimony from 47 students detailing years of systematic harassment that school officials either disregarded or concealed. One by one, Derek's victims took the stand. Emma Rodriguez recounted being trapped in restrooms while teachers passed by. Ben Chen spoke of being compelled to complete assignments under threat of physical harm, his voice gaining strength with each utterance. Marcus Washington detailed having his lunch money pilfered weekly, while administrators advised him to be more amiable towards his assailants. Each testimony built upon the preceding one, painting a picture of institutional failure that extended far beyond a single troubled student. The turning point occurred when Derek himself took the stand. His attorney had advised against it, but Robert Mitchell insisted his son testify to vindicate himself. Derek walked to the witness stand, his arm still in a sling, his face bearing faint bruises from Maya's final blow. He had clearly been coached, speaking deliberately and avoiding eye contact with Maya. Derek, his lawyer began gently, can you tell the court what transpired on the day of the altercation? I was merely attempting to speak with Maya to resolve matters peacefully. She had been threatening me and my friends for weeks, organizing other students to assault us, and when I approached her that day, she immediately became aggressive, initiating blows for no reason. I was simply defending myself when she rendered me unconscious. The prosecutor smiled, confident in Derek's testimony. However, under David Chen's cross-examination, Derek's arrogance began to surface through his rehearsed responses. Derek, did you tell Maya Johnson you could be her master, like in the old days? Derek's lawyer objected, but Derek had already responded. It was just a joke. She was being overly sensitive about everything. A joke? I didn't mean it that way. Some people just lack a sense of humor. Did you follow Maya to her car and make threatening remarks? I was trying to be friendly. She kept rejecting my attempts at civility. Did you slap Maya Johnson's posterior in the school parking lot? Derek's lawyer objected once more, but Derek's temper was escalating. She needed to learn some respect. Girls like her think they can just... Girls like her, David interrupted. What exactly do you mean by that? Derek realized his error too late. I mean, I just meant... You meant black girls, didn't you? You meant girls who refused to submit to your harassment should be taught lessons. Is that correct? That's not what I said, but it's what you meant. Just as when you told your friends you intended to attack the exotic animal, correct? Derek's face flushed crimson. You are misrepresenting my words. These are your words, Derek. Your deleted social media posts, your text messages, your own voice on video. David's voice escalated with righteous indignation. You targeted Maya Johnson because she was black, because she was new, and because you believed you could evade consequences, just as you had with dozens of other students. She was the aggressive one, Derek shouted, abandoning all pretense of composure. She is the one who brought gang-related violence to our school. Before she arrived, everything was peaceful. Peaceful for whom, Derek? Peaceful for you, while you terrorized other students. They deserved it. Derek's voice cracked with desperation. That's how the world operates. Some individuals are significant and others are not. The courtroom erupted. Judge Martinez repeatedly struck her gavel, demanding order, but Derek was not finished. My family built this town. We made that school what it is. Some little gangbanger is not going to come in and destroy everything we've worked for. David Chen allowed Derek's words to linger in the air. Derek's true nature was finally exposed for all to witness. When order was re-established, Judge Martinez's voice sliced through the silence. I've heard sufficient. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, it is evident that Maya Johnson was defending herself against a pattern of harassment and assault that school officials not only disregarded but actively concealed. Her voice conveyed the weight of justice finally being served. All charges against Maya Johnson are dismissed. The courtroom erupted in cheers. Outside, the crowd of supporters exploded in celebration, their chants audible even through the courthouse walls. However, Judge Martinez had not concluded. Furthermore, I am ordering a comprehensive investigation into the handling of bullying complaints at Westfield High School. Derek Mitchell will face charges for assault, harassment, and conspiracy, and I recommend that the state review the district's entire policies on student safety." Maya felt tears stream down her face as her friends surrounded her, all of them weeping and laughing simultaneously. Her parents embraced her tightly, while reporters shouted questions and cameras flashed. Amidst the pandemonium, Maya caught sight of Derek being led away in handcuffs, his father following with his head bowed, finally facing the repercussions of their actions. They had prevailed. Not merely the legal contest, but something more significant. They had altered everything. 6 months later, Maya walked through the corridors of Westfield High School, but everything had transformed. New anti-bullying posters adorned the walls, and reporting hotlines were prominently displayed. Most crucially, she could sense the shift in the atmosphere. "Maya?" Jake Santos jogged toward her, a broad grin on his face. "Did you see the news?" "What news?" "Derek received his sentence yesterday. 2 years in juvenile detention, plus community service upon his release, and his father lost his seat on the school board." Maya nodded, experiencing a complex blend of satisfaction and sorrow. Justice had been dispensed, yet she found no pleasure in Derek's downfall, only relief that he could no longer inflict harm. Emma Rodriguez appeared at Maya's locker, practically vibrating with excitement. "Also, did you hear about Principal Anderson?" "What about him?" "He's gone. Forced resignation. And guess who they're appointing as interim principal?" Emma's smile was infectious. "Coach Rivera. She's already implementing the new policies." Maya felt a genuine smile spread across her face. Coach Rivera had been among the few adults who had supported her from the outset, recognizing her Muay Thai prowess and understanding the predicament she faced. As they proceeded toward their first class, Maya noticed something that still astonished her 6 months later. Students walked confidently through the hallways. No one clung to the walls anymore. No one averted their gaze in fear. The atmosphere of terror that Derek and his associates had cultivated had dissipated. "Maya Johnson, please report to the principal's office." The announcement echoed through the corridor. However, this time, Maya felt no apprehension. These summonses had become commonplace since Coach Rivera assumed leadership. In the principal's office, Maya encountered an unexpected assembly. Coach Rivera was seated behind the desk, but she was not alone. Ben Chen was present, along with Marcus Washington and several other students Maya did not immediately recognize. "Maya, have a seat," Coach Rivera said warmly. "I wanted you to meet some people." The unfamiliar students introduced themselves. They hailed from other institutions across the state, all grappling with their own bullying challenges. "We heard about what you accomplished here," said a girl named Samantha from a school an hour away. "We want to achieve the same at our school, but we require assistance. We need to understand how you mobilized everyone." Maya looked around the room at the eager faces. Over the preceding month, she had received hundreds of messages from students nationwide seeking counsel, sharing their personal narratives, and requesting support with their circumstances. "The initial thing you must comprehend," Maya stated cautiously, "is that what transpired here became exceedingly severe before it improved. People were injured. I was apprehended. It was a conflict, and conflicts have casualties." "But it was effective," Ben interjected quietly. "Derek is gone. The administration has changed, and bullying reports are actually being taken seriously now." Maya nodded. "It worked, but there may have been alternative approaches, better ones." "What would you do differently?" Marcus inquired. Maya pondered this question, one she had posed to herself for months. "I would endeavor more strenuously to engage with adults initially. I would meticulously document everything from the outset, and I would concentrate more on reforming the system rather than merely addressing the symptoms." Coach Rivera leaned forward. "That is precisely why I convened you all here. The district is instituting a new peer mediation initiative, and they wish for Maya to assist in its design." "Me? You have become something of an authority on student conflict resolution," Coach Rivera smiled. "Your case is being studied by school districts across the nation. They seek to learn from what transpired here." The meeting continued for another hour, with Maya sharing strategies for organization, documentation, and coalition building. As the students from other schools prepared to depart, Samantha approached Maya. "Thank you," she said simply. "You gave us hope." After everyone had left, Maya found herself alone with Coach Rivera. "How are you truly doing?" the coach asked. "All the attention, the speaking engagements, the interviews, that's a great deal for anyone to manage." Maya considered the question honestly. "Some days I feel like a hero. Other days, I feel I was merely fortunate that things worked out. And some days, I wonder if I only exacerbated everything for a period." "The fact that you question yourself demonstrates wisdom," Coach Rivera stated. "Heroes in movies never doubt themselves. Real heroes always do. What happens now? I graduate in a few months. Now you get to decide what kind of person you wish to be moving forward. The Maya Johnson who confronted Derek was necessary, but the Maya Johnson who prevents the next Derek might be even more significant." That evening, Maya sat in her backyard with her father, both of them practicing forms in the fading light. It had become their ritual, a means of maintaining connection and equilibrium amidst the ensuing chaos of the trial. "Dad," Maya said during a break, "do you think I did the right thing?" Marcus wiped sweat from his brow and looked at his daughter. "Baby girl, you did the only thing you could do, and because you did it, hundreds of other kids don't have to. But Derek's life is ruined. His friends were expelled. Even some innocent individuals were caught up in everything." "Derek ruined his own life the moment he decided other people were objects for his amusement," Marcus stated firmly. "You did not create that monster. You merely refused to allow him to continue feeding." Maya's phone buzzed with another message from a student seeking assistance. She had received thousands of them over the preceding months, each representing someone who had found courage from her narrative. "I think I know what I want to study in college," Maya announced suddenly. "What's that? Social work, or perhaps law? Something where I can help change systems instead of just fighting individual battles?" Marcus smiled. "Sounds like you learned the true lesson." "What's that?" "That the fight never truly ends. It merely changes form." As summer approached, Maya found herself reflecting on all that had transformed. Derek was serving his sentence and reportedly progressing well in counseling, finally confronting the attitudes that had shaped him into a predator. Principal Anderson had accepted a position in educational consulting, working to assist other schools in avoiding the missteps Westfield had made. Most importantly, the students Derek had terrorized were flourishing. Jake had been elected student body president. Emma was initiating a peer counseling program. Ben had discovered his voice and was applying to debate programs for college. The ripple effects extended far beyond Westfield. Maya's story had inspired policy changes in dozens of school districts. The Maya Johnson Act was under debate in the state legislature, a bill mandating schools to have independent oversight for bullying complaints and real consequences for administrators who disregarded them. On graduation day, Maya stood at the podium as valedictorian, addressing her classmates and their families. "When I transferred to Westfield High 8 months ago," she began, "I simply wished to complete my education quietly and move on with my life. I never intended to become the focal point of a movement or the representative of student activism." She paused, spotting Jake and Emma in the audience, both beaming. "But sometimes life does not afford you the choice to remain silent. Sometimes the right course of action is the difficult one, the frightening one, the one that alters everything." Maya's voice grew stronger. "We learned that confronting bullies is not merely about physical altercations. It is about refusing to accept injustice as commonplace. It is about protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and it is about believing that change is achievable even when the entire system appears designed to impede it." The audience erupted in applause as Maya concluded her address. In the crowd, she observed her parents beaming with pride, Coach Rivera nodding in approval, and dozens of students whose lives had been transformed by the events of the preceding year. As Maya crossed the stage to receive her diploma, she contemplated Derek, hoping he was finding his own path to redemption. She thought of all the students who had contacted her for assistance and the responsibility she felt to continue advocating for them. But primarily, she considered the future. College, law school, and a lifetime of effort to ensure that what occurred at Westfield would never be repeated. The conflict had concluded, but the actual work was just beginning.